Hello, sports history fans. I'm Harv Aronson from the Total Sports Recall Podcast. You're about to jump into another thrilling sports history moment, but first let's dive into today's sponsor just in time for the holiday season. Introducing Art of Words, the brainchild of word artist Dan Duffy from Philadelphia. Dan meticulously crafts stunning images by handwriting relevant words from some of the greatest sports moments in time. These unique, budget-friendly illustrations are the perfect gift, sparking cherished memories and capturing hearts. Choose from city skylines, sports, history, and musicians to find a piece for everyone. And here's the exciting part. For that sports fanatic in your life, gift them a piece of their favorite team or player's history. Art of Words tells a compelling story. Explore collegiate stadiums, each meticulously crafted with every football victory etched in words. Or venture into baseball stadiums, handwritten with every player from the team's illustrious history. Don't wait. Order a print today for yourself and your loved ones this holiday season. Transform your wall into a gallery of captivating art and surprise your family and friends with a print of their own. Use code SHN15 at artofwords.com for a 15% discount on your order in November and December. Visit Art of Words, where words magically transform into stunning art, evoking cherished memories and touching the hearts of those you care about. Again, use the code SHN15 for a 15% off at artofwords.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Bob, did we lose you? Tonight we'll go back in time to seasons past, when 22 men graced the rugged fields of yesterday, fighting for one more first down, one more yard gain that would bring victory after 60 minutes of battle on the gridiron. Tonight we'll explore the world of Gridiron Greats. Welcome to Gridiron Greats, football history and its memorabilia, on the Gridiron Greats Publishing and Broadcasting Network, in conjunction with Swick Enterprises. We're live from the Southport, North Carolina home of Gridiron Greats magazine. I'm Bob Swick, publisher and editor of Gridiron Greats magazine, and I'll be your host for the show. Gridiron Greats is the only publication in America that focuses upon the history and memorabilia of the North American football game since its inception in 1869. We cover 150-plus years of football history. You can find us on the web at gridirongreatsmagazine.com. It is at this time I'd like to introduce my co-host. He's a senior contributing writer at Gridiron Greats magazine, a football memorabilia historian, specializing in pre-World War II items, in particular Red Grange, and also Seattle Seahawk items, in particular Steve Largent. He hails from Portland, Oregon, Mr. Joe Squires. Joe, welcome to the show this evening.
So good to be back, Bob. So good to be back. Love it.
We're back for another show, but we have bittersweet news tonight. at the time of this recording, Aaron is gone. He has become a New York Football Jet, as his predecessor, Brett Favre, was in the past. Trade is being worked on as we speak. I was not consulted on my feelings. However, that's okay. But in any event, I'm a little, I'm not really overly shocked, but all I can say is he's in for a rude awakening playing for the Jets. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
You go from Green Bay, Wisconsin, where you are a hero, you are literally a god, and you're going to go to the Meadowlands of New Jersey, where your limo driver is going to pick you up well before your game to try to get there reasonably close to when you got to start getting dressed and get on the field. You're going to be micromanaged by every media source in the tri-state area. Every mistake you make will be magnified over and over and over again. So I get it. You know, guys, they can't give it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's 80,000 people cheering for you. It's a little too much. I'm a little concerned, though, that Broadway Joe Namath's going to have to let him wear his number for a season. That's going to be a little,
about that too. That was
a little weird for me. So
I'll admit, Bob, I was
anyways,
curious about that too. If he was going to wear 12 there, I wondered that as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really believe, you know, the Jets are desperate. They're going to try to get into the playoffs again. They really think they're going to win a Super Bowl with him. Good luck. That's all I can say. Because at any time he could go down with an injury, and they're going to be, you know, as usual, a 500 team or less. And that's it. So is what it is. I still don't understand in football, of all sports, why guys can't just bow out gracefully. You got a great career. You really can't ask for anything more. What are you attempting to do? I mean, you had so many chances for another ring with Green Bay, and you couldn't pull it off. What's so different about the Jets? You know what I mean? This is what I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I got everybody.
In your opinion, is Aaron Rodgers? Is he on the downside? Well, obviously, he's on the downside of his career. Does he have any gas left in the tank? Is he like Favre, who played another 2 years of good, 1 year of nominal, and then retired? Or what do you think? What has he got left in the tank?
My gut feeling, he's going to have spurts of glory, but I don't think he's got enough gas in the tank anymore to do anything. I mean, the last game against Detroit last season just showed to me how little he had left. And if it was all a big disguise to get him out of there, well, it worked. But, you know, I really can't. You know, the guy's going to be 40 years old. I mean, it's not like he's, 30 going to another team. So, he's at the down end of his career. It's just like Unitas to the Chargers, Namath to the Rams. I can't say Brady to the Bucks because he still had one good year left in him. But he's not a Brady. And he's not a Namath, and he's not a Unitas. He's Aaron Rodgers. So I don't understand. I really don't understand.
2 years ago, he was MVP. So, I mean, the last time I've seen an MVP fall like that was Shaun Alexander for the Seahawks. I mean, to go from MVP to being traded, it's, in 2 short years, he's making the play. I mean, you said something about this years ago, and it really started resonating with me. And it's somebody's body language when it's not going very good for the team. And if it's a close game and you're on the sideline and hooting and hollering, let's go, D, let's go, get that guy. versus sitting on the bench with your jacket on, and your head down. I mean, to me, his body language has been telling the last couple years, and this year especially, where it's just he did not care. I mean, not much got put into that game.
Yep. And to me, the Detroit Lions game, the last game of the season, was the summary of everything. And if I was management with the Packers, I would say, hey, this guy's done. I don't want him here. We got to move on. Enough's enough. We got to give Love the chance that he needs. Let's see what he can do. If he can't do it, we got 1 year. We'll just move on and go from there. The NFL is becoming a revolving door of quarterbacks here and there, everywhere, and that's it. We've had we had a great run. I hate to say this, we've had a great run in my lifetime. We had Bart Starr, we had Brett Favre, and we had Aaron Rodgers. So since the day I was born, when Bart Starr was the quarterback back in '58, all the way up to now, look at basically almost 50 years of the same quarterback, albeit three different quarterbacks, but still, that's a strong statement for the team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but again, Favre 1 ring, Rodgers 1 ring, Bart Starr 5 rings. That's the difference. So
yeah, it's so interesting because years ago I had a friend of mine who's a Bears fan say the Chicago Bears are famous for always having a Hall of Fame linebacker and a Hall of Fame running back. He's like, you can go back, to the beginning of the Bears, and it's a running back and a linebacker. And I always thought that was really interesting, and it's a good way to think about it. And to me, the Packers have always been Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and it's just what you said. I can't name another team that has had, for the last 30 years, has had a run of quarterbacks from, Favre, to Rodgers like that. I mean, you've enjoyed a dynasty of amazing quarterbacks. You shook 1 ring out of it, with 2, because of Favre, but that, there's still a lot of teams that haven't been on the board. So, to me, the Packers have always been about an amazing quarterback and then build the team around it. I'll admit I had an inclination he was going to New York, to the Jets, but I heard it here first. You're the one who just sprung it on me that the deal was signed. It was official. I didn't know that. So.
Yeah, they're just ironing out the final details. So he announced it this morning, and the New York media. I still get my New York Post feed down here, and it's all Rodgers every which way. So good luck to him. That's it. It's not going to make me want to be a New York Jets fan, or actually New Jersey, New York, tri-state area Jet fan, one way or the other. My Jet days were with Broadway Joe back in the 60s, and they have gone way back. A real quick story to interject. Several years ago, back when I was in Connecticut, my boss got tickets for the Jets-Packers game at the new Meadowlands, and which is like right next to the old Meadowlands. Anyways, so we get there. They're third-tier seats, and naturally I got my Bart Starr jersey on, so I'm getting hot dogs thrown at me as I'm walking by, so on and so forth. But the game, I mean, the Jets didn't look good at all. The Packers ate them up. Rodgers won, yada, yada, yada. And I just said to myself, as we sat in traffic for I don't know how many hours trying to get home, and it's a simple, if there's no traffic, it's basically an hour and a half ride out of the Meadowlands to Connecticut. And like 3.5 hours later, we finally got back to Connecticut, and we all said it's just so much nicer to watch a Jets or a Giants game on TV than actually go in the game. Yeah. And he's gonna see something completely different there. So that's it. Even though he's played there, he doesn't know what it's like to live there. So
totally agree.
Whatever. All right.
Totally agree. And you know what? Russell Wilson getting traded to the Broncos, last year. thank you, Russell. Thank you for bringing the Lombardi Trophy to Seattle. I wish you well. I feel like Seattle sold him at his highest value.
Right.
But you look at a quarterback and they're put into another system and they're expected to immediately perform, and it oftentimes doesn't work. I mean, unless you're Tom Brady, like you mentioned, or Peyton Manning eventually. But, a totally different system, totally different fan base. I mean, will Aaron Rodgers do good there? Yeah, Are you mad at Aaron Rodgers? You're, lifelong Packer fan. Are you thankful for Aaron Rodgers? Thanks for the trophy. Thanks for, all the years of being a Hall of Fame quarterback. Or are you, don't let the door hit you in the butt?
Well, Mark Murphy from the Packers said it eloquently. He's a Hall of Famer. He hopefully will go into the Hall of Fame as a Packer. We will retire his number at some point. He's always welcome here, and we wish him well. And that's it. And it's a business decision. And again, I would have really liked to have seen him just retire and just say, hey, I did it. There's nothing you could take away from me. I tried my best. I got the MVPs. I got one ring. It was a great run. Time for me to do something else. But no, like I said, they're just going on. They're going on that elixir of the 80,000 people screaming every Sunday, and when they stop screaming for you, it's a rude awakening, and that's it. So, no, I'm not mad at him. I wish him well, but I really don't feel he's going to reach any type of success with the Jets. He's not Favre in any way, shape, or form. Favre was a gut quarterback. He played to win. If he was half dead, he'd go on that field and fling that ball, and he didn't care. And he didn't care if he got smashed by 350-pound linemen at the same time. He would still throw that ball and try to win the game. Favre was a completely different quarterback than Rodgers. Rodgers, had the edge that he was very self-assured, very cocky in a lot of cases, drove a lot of people crazy. I didn't like his joking, on the field with a lot of guys. I thought that was, you're trying to win, man. If you want a men's club out there, good luck to you. You know what I mean? Football is not like that. So that's it. So anyways, you heard it first, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it this fall, especially if the Jets go 0-16 or whatever. The type of situation. All right, we got to move on.
Oh, never mind.
Go ahead.
I didn't notice the time. I was going to say, refresh my memory. How'd the Jets do? Does Aaron Rodgers get them closer, to the AFC, playoffs?
Well, it all depends. It all depends because he's still got to deal with the Bills. The Bills are still a good team as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
You never know what the Patriots are going to throw out at you, and I wouldn't underestimate Miami either. So he's going through a slightly rough division there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, Kansas City.
And if any. Yeah, and the other thing I look at with Green Bay in the NFC, I don't think you should count out the Lions right now. So I think the Lions are going to be an upcoming team, and the Lions are going to be a pretty strong team. You might be surprised; they might do something for you.
Yep.
So
that way, Bob. Perfect.
Anyways,
perfect segue into our guest because neither of us talked about the Cowboys as contenders. All right.
Our special guest tonight is an avid collector of vintage football cards and memorabilia and a lifelong hobby. His specific interests include the 1972 Sunoco stamp set, Super Bowl ticket collecting, and 1960s and 70s football icons, such as Broadway Joe Namath, Roger Staubach, Kenny Stabler, and Walter Payton. Other sets he has put together over the years include the 1965, 1969, and 1972 Topps football sets. His 1965 and 1972 Topps football sets were once the number one sets on the PSA set registry, and his 1965 Topps set was inducted into the PSA Registry Hall of Fame in 2013. He was born and raised in central New Jersey and currently resides in Newtown, Pennsylvania, with his wife of 32 years, Amy, His children are graduates of Penn State University and Bryant University in Smithfield, Rhode Island. He's a graduate of North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina, with a BA in accounting, and he was a CPA. He recently completed a 32-year career in the financial service industry, serving as the CFO for an asset management company that specializes in managed futures. So at this time, I'd like to welcome a good friend of ours, Mr. Steve Crane, to the show. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Bob and Joe. Great to be in your company here.
So good to finally have you on the show, Steve.
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember actually collecting the 65 set and cutting a few deals with you, Joe. I still have a few of the emails back then. You were helpful when I was working my way up the ladder. That was probably in 2011 or 2012.
That's so cool. I love that. Oh, that makes me that's cool.
Yeah, your exact quote was us vintage football guys need to stick together. So I was like, yeah, I like this guy.
God, I was smart back then.
The 1965 top set, the purest of all pure sets, the last set I will let go before if I ever pass away. That's the set. That started it all for me. But Steve, to get our show rolling here, tell our listeners how you got started in collecting football cards and memorabilia.
Sure. Like a lot of folks, I mean, I started when I was a really little kid. I grew up with two older brothers who were all 2 years apart. And, we were, a sports-minded family, loved watching football on Saturdays, playing out in the backyard with all the local neighborhood kids. And we had a lot of football cards that, just were circulating in the house. The earliest I remember were 69 and a lot of 70s and 71s and 72s. And so we used to, go to the store and, badger our mom like probably most kids back then and, try to save up our money and get a few packs and, of our favorite players and crack them open. And, and there was nothing like it. It was just good old-fashioned collecting fun. So, that's where the roots were. And I kind of collected, I used to go to a lot of shows in the mid to late 70s and early 80s. And then, as you get older, your interests change. You get a little more focused on other things. And it, kind of sometimes goes a little bit away. And then I, got back to it again and, in my professional life and, then really found it to be doubly more rewarding because I had a few shekels that I could spend more on some of the things that I enjoyed collecting so much as a kid.
Who was the collector around your house? Who you said there were cards, just around?
Well, we all three collected. My oldest brother Ron and next oldest Paul and I. So we collected football. We also had some of that other sport, with the stick and glove. But
good man.
We can't deny there were other sports involved. My oldest brother, he collected all four. But my focus was always football. I just we loved the whole Saturday, college, Sunday routine. And, back then they had the This Week in the NFL with Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall and, all the great, NFL films, music, highlighting all the, the games of the prior week and so forth. So it was, it was definitely a lot of gridiron. So, 72 was I would say without question my favorite set back then to collect, even though I was still kind of little. I mean, it just I could always remember that one for two different reasons. One, the Topps cards and the Pro Actions, and then of course the Sunoco set, which created a lot of skirmishes in our car over the who gets what what stamps and so forth to put in our albums.
One thing I got to comment, Steve. I got to comment on this, and I know where you're coming from because I was from the tri-state area in Connecticut, born and raised in Connecticut. We were fortunate because we actually saw 4 sports at all times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We did have basketball and hockey during the winter, and it was a given, obviously, football in the fall. So, it was, I lived that too. There was 4 sports going on at all times. And it's kind of interesting, especially meeting people who have no clue what hockey was as the years went on, because they lived in an area where hockey wasn't really, wasn't popular, and they really didn't watch it, or they played it. That type of situation. So it's interesting because I think a lot of young kids who played the 4 sports, and again, you didn't have to excel at it; you just played them, type of thing.
Yeah,
gave a pretty good round background as far as sports were concerned.
We had a family of the O'Briens right down the street, and they were huge hockey fans. So they got out the hockey net on a regular basis before it was in Wayne's World, and that was back in the Islanders and Rangers. Certainly the Islanders run of the early '80s, but we had the Bobby Orr hockey game, and it was. That was a thing, and it was cold enough where too you could get the local lakes and ponds that would freeze up, so you could kind of pretend like you knew how to ice skate and get out there a little bit. Double blades for me back then, but you got to learn somehow.
That's awesome. I don't. Your 72 Sunoco set is incredible, and it's funny. I don't really follow that set very much, mostly because it's pre-Largent. But I don't. I spent a little bit of time looking through some of your sets, and what an incredible set that you've put together. This thing, I mean, really, it should be Hall of Fame. Just your rating, just how long you've. I mean, a lot of your PSA 10s are 1 of 1 with This is incredible. Tell us a little bit about the set and just some of the nuances of it. I mean, other than reading your description and your.
I appreciate it, Joe, and this is one, of all the sets I've collected, I mean, they always say, collect what you like, and you'll really always enjoy it. And even though, as I collected and I love the 65 set, really love it, just a little expensive there at the end, but that and the 72 Topps and all of those, this is the one that just always hit home most with me because I just enjoyed it so much as a kid. And then, I think it offered so much more than, some of the mainstream sets back then. Now, and from the period 1970 to 81, I mean, Topps didn't have a license with NFL properties, and so they couldn't use the NFL logos on any of their cards. And so, I love the 70s Topps cards, but when you really kind of look at them, I mean, it does take away a little bit from from the shots, including Largents, like the 79 or 80 Largents. Beautiful, but then it's got that helmet, and it just looks like it's, from Mars, they're like, where's this cool Seahawk logo that everyone likes, and that's a big part of it. And so, this set, there's no holds barred. It was, they had a agreement. It was represented by the NFL Players Association, and it was actually, if you look at, so just to take you through it, the Sun Oil Company had provided this great collecting opportunity and in '72, and so they partnered with the NFL Players Association and the NFL to create an album which would have all of the individual player pictures, 24, 12 on offense, 12 on defense of all 26 teams in the NFL, and they had albums which celebrated the previous year's Super Bowl, and then it had each page would have a description of the player, his height, weight, age, what college he went to, uniform number, position. And then when you went to the local Sunoco station, they handed out these packs, and in the packs were 9 different stamps, and you put those in where they go in each of the teams, and so it encouraged people to, one, go to the Sunoco station and buy their gas, and two, just terrorize their parents until they got the whole set. So it was truly a unique set for the time, and I haven't looked completely into it, but I think it may be the biggest set of all time in the 70s. I don't recall there being one, bigger than that.
Yeah. I've got it open. I've got your registry open. I just noticed there are 624 items, and that's holy crap! I did not know that. That's huge.
Yeah, it's really big. And then during the later in the year, they came, and I didn't know this, but later in the year, I only found out, when I started to collect this in my 40s, is that they came out with a mail order form. They changed 82 of the players. They created player update stamps for players that either came on later in the year and prominence in their roles on the teams, and they replaced other players that didn't that kind of retired or were traded and so forth. So you could mail away to get individual players, or an entire team. They had team sheets that included those update stamps as well. So that's kind of a separate set that was produced and wasn't available at all at the gas station. So it creates a further challenge in completing the entire set. So it's 624 in the base set, and then 82 in the update set. And and it's some of the unique things I think about this set are that there's currently 72 Hall of Famers in this set. I know of no other set where there's that many in 1 year's issue. Yeah, and then in addition to that, they gave you, to start, if you bought the album for $1, they gave you 144 starter stamps to get you going. So it's kind of neat. And when I first embarked on it, I first came across on eBay a few of the packs, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they actually have these. And so I bought a few, and I opened them up. I was like, wow, this really took me back in time. And then I started looking, and I saw there was just a few graded, not much. And so I bought one or two, and I said, wow, this really looks neat. And I said, you know what? I mean, that would be the most insane thing ever. But you know what? I'm gonna set a goal to see if I could get this entire set graded. And then that just it started, and I, like you, Joe, I excel in Excel spreadsheets. So I have this elaborate spreadsheet, and I had to research which ones come in the in the packs, and which ones are only in the update form, and vice versa, and it just became kind of a labor of love over the last 13 years to try to get this assembled.
Wow. And by the way, I wanted to throw out a couple stats of this set of yours. 9 years in a row, 8 years, 2015 to 2022, the number one set. You're only the second person to complete this set. The gentleman right behind you, Carlos Diaponte, which I thought was a really cool name. You are 100% cool, or completed, 9.24 weighted GPA, 10.48 with bonuses. Second place behind you is 7.78, 9.24 your weighted GPA to 7.78. And then your weighted GPA with bonuses, your 10.48, second place is 8. You are the Jerry Rice of 72 Suncoast stamps, my friend.
Well, it's I guess you have to excel in something. So this is this is it, and get into the show early. But I said one of the things once I get it all graded, I also was hoping to get it all in 8 or better. So at my set right now, I only have 5 that are less than an 8. Now I keep looking hard for them. I have a couple people looking on my behalf that, kind of made it a part of their business. One guy in Florida in particular who, buys in bulk a lot of the player stamp packets and opens them up and sells them. But I'm still sending in the PSA as we speak. I think last week I was able to get one of the coveted ones I needed in 8, which was nice. And then I enjoy collecting some of the ancillary kind of historical items. Like I have one of the actual completion forms, which people mailed in, which is really neat to look at, and has all of the teams with. It almost looks like the Dimple Chad election back in Gore Lieberman back in the day, and then with it is the actual envelope of this gentleman that sent it to the NFL Stamp Fulfillment Offer Center in Des Plaines, Illinois in 1972. So that's kind of a neat little item. And then I have a complete set of all of the team sheets as well, but for the Chicago Bears and the Raiders, which are just, impossible to find. I had a Bears at one time that was, severely water stained, and I have to say I detached for 1 or 2 stamps that I needed because the rest of it was in such terrible shape. And the only Raiders I've ever seen was one sold at a Mile High auction in 2011, and I believe that was disassembled because I happen to have an update stamp from that of Hall of Famer Cliff Branch. So that kind of leads me to believe that's probably now extinct, like the dodo bird.
Wow. I mean, some of these PSA 10s in a stamp, these are hard to get. I mean, where did you get the majority of these?
Now, good question. And the other thing that's interesting is I probably submitted at least over 1,000 stamps to PSA, and I think another collecting friend, Steve Wolf, had mentioned that there's maybe about upwards of 8,000 that have been graded. But the majority of the really high grade ones come from the team sheets, and that was something early on in my research. Another gentleman, John Clays, was really helpful in educating me on a bit of some of the history of the set. And And he said, if you're really looking to build a high-grade set of these, the thing to do is, if you can, get a hold of a lot of the team sheets. So, I spent a lot of the early years, kind of really scouring shows and eBay to find places that may have some. And, there was an individual in Indiana, Columbia City Collectibles, Mike Mosier. He was extremely helpful, and I have one really neat pickup was a few Green Bay Packers team sheets, and Bob, you would probably appreciate that, and they were just in beautiful condition, and they in addition, the fellow that I bought them from in Wisconsin had two of the stamps autographed at a show, which I still have those, and I do plan on sending them into PSA. It was Chester Markle and I can't remember the other individual off the top of my head, but it was Carol Dale, actually. And those stamps are in great shape. But because they are stamps, you can imagine they're so delicate. So it's really a tough exercise to detach the stamps from the sheets and not create any marks on them that otherwise would affect the grade. But it's really neat when you send in some high grade stamps, and then when you get that, your grades are ready. It's fun to look at them, and I've had many sheets early on, the Patriots and the Chargers for examples where I probably got about 7 or 8 PSA 10s from one sheet, but they just look so nice, So in a way, it's kind of curating history. I look at it that way. I'm taking things that otherwise might go by the wayside, and I feel good about the fact that I'm kind of helping create a capsule of what I think is one of the greatest eras of football. I mean, everyone has their own times, and rightfully so, and so forth. But here you're talking, you span players that, like you alluded to in the introduction. I mean, Bart Starr, from the 1950s, and George Blanda, and Lenny Dawson, and then you get into the stars of the day, which were Namath, Sawback, Tarkington, Bradshaw. It's a really wide collection of some of the greats.
Unbelievable. Well, you did an incredible job on the 72 set. Can you? And we're getting really tight on time now. 1965 Topps set.
That happens.
Your 1965 Topps set was retired. Give us an overview of that set, Steve.
Yeah. The 65 set I started probably in maybe 2010 or 11, and I just started, I got a few from Rick Snyder at Mint State back in the day, and I think he was breaking up a few, maybe that Museum of Sports History, and I was just working my way up the ladder. I started with 6s and 7s, and then as it went, I was able to accumulate some more and get the 7s and 8s, and my goal with that set was to try to get all PSA 8, which was so difficult at the time because there were so many low pop cards of maybe 4 or 5 or 6, and I think because of the size of the card, it just was, didn't store well in people's shoe boxes and so forth. But that set was just such a beautiful set, and it still is. I mean, I think it's, as far as pure aesthetics, it's almost like miniature pieces of art, I think. And you have the Namath, of course, and that's always the draw, like the 52 Topps mantle and the other sport we won't mention, but some of the other, greats like the Ben Davidson with his, almost looks like a fat head coming at you, and, Cosmo Ayakabasi, look that card up. I mean, that's one of the neatest cards ever, even though he is of the New York Jets. It was, you have his flat top, and he's coming right at you with the ball like a freight train, and, it's just a classic set, much like even the 65 Topps hockey, and I think they just hit it on the nail on the head there that year with the designs of their sets, and that will always be one of my favorites. It just became a little cost prohibitive for what I wanted to do with some of my other interests in the hobby, so I had to painfully let it go. Just wish I would have kept the Namath 8.
The Namath 8, yeah, that's a pretty rare one. I sold my Namath 8 about 2 years before it went up as well. What a great set to put together in 8 or in high grade. I love it. Yeah. Obviously, you're a very avid collector, and from 65 to, just all the sets you have, and like I said, I went through and looked at a lot of the sets you put together. What are the top 5 things in your collection? What do you dig?
Well, right now, obviously love the Sunoco set. I really have been enamored with the Super Bowl tickets as of the last few years. I started by just, looking at one on eBay and just buying it because it, kind of looked neat. I thought I'd get one, and it was, I think, a 74 of the Dolphins, and when it arrived, I said, wow, this is just, it's almost like the 65 Topps Tall Boys. It's, larger than life, and they're little miniature pieces of art. So, that's probably my biggest thing right now. I, have the Namath set and, Jim Brown. I'm trying to complete, but I'm just going to do it slowly. I guess I only need two more, but I'd like to get that Mount Rushmore of the 4. I have the Namath and the Jim Brown and 8 and Namath and 7, but I'm hoping to, add at some point a Nagurski and a Johnny U. But my Namath sets, near and dear to my collecting heart, and and I have a high grade one of that. I'm always looking to see if there's ever an upgrade, but there's it just seems like in general the vintage high grade material just is kind of drying up, or it doesn't surface much, and when it does, it goes for astronomical prices. That's that's the thought there, but those are kind of my current collecting interests and so forth. And you have to, as a collector, decide who what interests you most. And some of the new stuff is interesting and neat, but I have to go with what I like. I like the vintage, and for me, I still consider 70s, 80s to be modern, but it's not. Have to get out of that time capsule.
I still say up to 1988, when you had the 2 base sets, Flair and Topps. I still say, you look at 1948 to 1988. I can view that as a vintage run. Okay, 1989, you had the explosion through the 90s, 00, 10, so on and so forth. So I think we have a lot of different definitions of vintage, but I'll always look at 1948 to anything obviously 48 and back is vintage, but 1948 to 1988 I think is a vintage run if there ever was one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 1970s is vintage, and there's certain 1980s that are vintage too, as far as I'm concerned. So
and I did attempt to collect an 82 set in PSA 10. That was one of my COVID projects, or right before it. And, and I kind of went about it the way I did with the 72s, and I went out and I tried to, get some, vending boxes and, submit a bunch and and I was having success, but then COVID came and it kind of changed everything with the grading and PSA and all of that. And so I got about halfway through and I had to kind of realize I'm going to, abandon that project. But oddly enough, I really enjoyed that, collecting that set. And I never collected too many in the 80s just because of where I was in life. But there's some beautiful sets in the 80s. Really are.
Yep. I agree.
Well, it's funny you touched on it earlier, Steve, where I remember being young and in the 79 and 80 sets, like you said, that they didn't have a licensing with the NFL. I remember thinking, well, that's kind of weird to see Steve Largent in his 79 card where there's no logo. I'm like, that must have been taken in practice where they were using blank helmets. And for years, I just assumed that was it. And then in 81, when it rolls around and you could start seeing the logo. Or was it 82? I forget, but you could start seeing the logo. It was like, oh, okay, they're taking them during games now.
Yeah, no, that definitely impacts the visual of some of those cards, and and I think it's neat. If the stamps were a little bigger, it might even show better, but when you really look at the details of them, there's some real incredible, nice action shots in that set.
Yeah, it's a classic set to say the least. Steve, do you have any collecting stories you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I have probably two. One's just one that I had, and then the other is kind of a current event. So the first was just kind of dovetailing on Joe's, when you sell a card before it has a huge price appreciation. So the one in the 65 set that always gnaws at me is looking at that Namath. I had at 8, and I guess there was another guy. He was a football player, I think Evan Mathis or so, that was putting together a high grade set, and so an 8.5 came up for auction, and so I said, wow, I don't know, I don't know if I really want to spend the money on this, but it's not quite as centered, and let me see. And so I put a little bit what I considered a strong offer of $16,500 in, and of course I was topped by 16.6, and that was in 2013. So 2017 I had to torture myself and see that card had the same exact card on PSA's auction site had sold for $78,000, and then in February of 21, $198,000. So I think we all have been on that side of the thing. But the other story I had, which is really interesting, is I was speaking to a dealer friend of mine that I consigned a few cards with, and really respected in the industry. He said that he just a few months ago came across a family, approached him, and I think it was a grandfather or so. Someone passed away, and they had this collection that they wanted to have him look at. And he's seen some of the great collections out there. And he said, well, my grandfather or father, when he passed away, he had purchased a lot of these packs in the 30s and 40s, and he just left them. And so to his amazement, he goes to their house and he looks at it, and, he said he had to, kind of, give himself a couple minutes to collect himself. And in there were just pristine, what looked like pristine, chickles. And so, and he said in particular, there's a Nagurski that he said in his estimation is easily a 7 and could be an 8, but and many other cards and so forth. But he's still trying to get the consignment, but he was more over to at least give them some advice as to what their looking at and what they need to do. And so it's been a several-month process, and now they've started to catalog everything and take pictures of it. And so my big story there is, I think, look out in the marketplace in the next 6 months or so. You will probably see some pretty amazing old cards surface that we maybe thought weren't out there. And to this dealer's own admission, he said, that just renewed in me the feeling that there's absolutely things out there, treasures to be found, and
yep.
So for all of us that collect and look for those treasures, there's going to be soon a nice beacon of light.
Wow, that would be cool. I love seeing new stuff. One of the topics Bob and I were supposed to talk about pre-show before we got into Aaron Rodgers was auctions. I love auctions. And right now there's not that many auctions going on, and I feel a little empty where it's just like Heritage, which is always running an auction, and then REA has one. But I don't know. I love auctions. I just love seeing what new stuff is coming to the market and checking it out. But what are you collecting now? I mean, you've touched the top of the mountain with your 72 set. You sold your 65. But what's got your attention?
Well, I mean, right now, like I said, I think the Super Bowl tickets have really captured most of my attention, and so I'm trying to upgrade some of the really older ones, and I do have a person that has some, but they're really kind of expensive. So I have to kind of decide how I want to proceed with it, and I don't want to go the route of having the master set of every color and every variation, but I think I will maybe pursue doing some of the the more smaller team master sets or so, and I think that's doable. And as I said, I want to try to get a reasonably good Nagurski that doesn't look like Sonny at the toll booth, and something that I could enjoy looking at. And I also am taking time to I want to scan as a project all of the the cards and pieces of memorabilia that I have and kind of put them online, because doing that with the Sunoco stamp was really a good process, and it makes you appreciate them, and it's a good spot to look at, and you don't have to go to the safe deposit box every day or things. So it's kind of that's a little of where I'm at, and in my collection, but and I'm always on the lookout to maybe upgrade some of the player sets as well.
Yeah, and it is kind of funny how the OCD, how the OCD takes over, where you want all the scans to look the same.
Exactly.
See, we're almost out of time, and I got to ask you the final question, which is: any advice for a beginning collector?
Sure. I hearken to what gives me the most pleasure out of it, which is to collect what you enjoy, and it doesn't have to be the hottest thing of the day, the sexiest thing of the day, but collect what you truly like. Collect your favorite player, your favorite team. Do one of those rainbows if they have a bunch of different versions in a year, or but get out there and kind of see what's available and go from there, because there's the range is so wide at this time, right? I mean, you have all of the the photos, vintage photos, you have pennants, you have tickets, cards, and it's so there's a little something for everyone, I think.
I agree. Steve, thanks for being on. We're literally almost out of time. Great. We could talk to you for 2 shows on your Sunoco stamps. I mean, that was great. That was great. Thanks for being on.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Great to have you on.
Well, we'll look forward to talking again, hopefully soon.
Sounds good. Joe, we're almost out of time. I'm going to hand off to you. 2-minute warning with 30 seconds. Would you pick up on tonight's show?
Oh, it's a great guest. It's so good to have Steve on finally, and how classy is that? It always gives me goosebumps when somebody is like, "Hey, years ago I had a communication with you, and thank you for that." It absolutely reinforces the idea of just being good in the hobby, and it goes forward. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I still have your email from, I think it's 2010, about the Mayos with prices that were incredible. That I should have taken out loans to buy those cards at that time. But yeah, you're right though. You're right. I mean, it's nice to be remembered in the hobby, and Steve's just got an incredible collection. All right, we're almost out of time. I lost my train of thought. Anyways, great pick up on that. And the one point I do want to make is that Sunoco set, 624 different players, an incredible mix of players for 1972. Truly unbelievable, plus the update set. So it's underlooked. I mean, it's overlooked, and it's underappreciated in a lot of ways. We're out of time. Thanks for listening. If you're not a subscriber to Gridiron Greats Magazine, what are you waiting for? Check out our website, gridirongreatsmagazine.com. And hopefully we'll see you next week with another show. Take care.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by to listen to another episode here on the Sports History Network. Our podcasters are passionate about uncovering and sharing sports stories from yesteryear. And if you didn't know it already, we have over 30 shows across the network covering all sorts of sports history topics. In fact, here's a glimpse into one of our awesome podcasts here on the network.
Each week, the official Football Learning Academy podcast will take you deep into the history of pro football through interviews with players, coaches, or administrators in the NFL, as well as interviews with Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors, authors, and historians. You'll learn how the game evolved and important moments that shaped the sport into what it is today. And don't miss the Pro Football History Nugget of the Week. Listen to the official Football Learning Academy podcast on the Sports History Network.
How about that? I bet you're super hyped to go listen to that new podcast, right? Well, to learn about this show and all the other podcasts on the network, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Head over there today to find your next favorite sports history podcast.